Hey YouTube, how's it going? Dustin Smith here with A2K, Allegiance to the King, and today we got another great biblical Unitarian theology video for you to digest and for you to think about and for you to take and to share with your friends. Today, we're going to be looking at the subject of Jesus having a God above him, okay? We're going to look at passages that demonstrate that Jesus taught that he has a God. Out of the mouth of Jesus himself. It's not someone else saying this, okay? So it's not unambiguous. It's Jesus himself saying that he has a God, meaning that Jesus is claiming that there's someone who is of a higher rank than he is, and that person who is higher than Jesus is defined by Jesus as God, okay? So we're going to look at three passages today, three of them. One before Jesus' resurrection, another passage after Jesus' resurrection, and then the third passage after Jesus' exaltation, okay? And in all three of these passages, we're going to see that Jesus claims that he has a God, okay? First place we're going to look at is at Jesus' crucifixion in Mark chapter 15. And Jesus says here in Mark chapter 15, verse 34, "At the ninth hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, 'Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani,' which is translated, 'My God, why have you forsaken me?'" Okay, here Jesus here is claiming that the God above him is his own God, is my God. And he actually says it, count them, twice. And he's doing this in citing Psalm 22 and verse 1 as authoritative scripture. Okay, Jesus here twice, prior to his resurrection, claims to have a God and claims to have a God above him. Okay, so that's our passage prior to the resurrection. Let's look at John 20 and verse 17, which is our passage after the resurrection. John chapter 20 and verse 17. Jesus said to her, "Stop clinging to me, for I've not yet ascended to the Father, but go to my brethren and say to them, I ascend to my Father and your Father, and my God and your God." John 20 and verse 17. There's so much powerful information that we can see here. This is after Jesus' resurrection, but prior to him being exalted to heaven. He says, "I have not yet ascended to the Father. I have not yet been exalted to God's right hand." But Jesus tells Mary, and he says, "Go tell my brethren and say to them, I ascend to my Father and to your Father," meaning that they share the same figure that is called the Father. The same person that Jesus is going to call the Father is the same person that Mary and the brethren can also call the Father. And that person is also described as my God and your God. So the God of Jesus is the Father, and that is the same God as Mary. The God of Mary and the brethren is also their God and is also called the Father. So there we see that Jesus, after his resurrection, still has a God above him, defines him as the Father, and says that Jesus' followers, his brethren, his brothers and sisters, also have that same God, meaning the Father. Okay? So that's after Jesus' resurrection. Let's look at a passage after Jesus' exaltation. This is in Revelation chapter 3 and verse 12, which is the most exciting of all the passages we're going to look at today, because this is the passage in one verse where Jesus says, "My God," count them, 4 times. 4 times Jesus says, "My God," in this passage. And we wonder why this doctrine is so difficult for people to grasp. I don't know. How many times does Jesus have to say it in a verse before we are going to believe what he says? Does he have to say it 6 times, 10 times, 100 times? You would think 4 times is pretty sufficient. Revelation 3 and verse 12 has Jesus saying, "He who overcomes, I will make him a pillar in the temple of my God, and he will not go out from it any more. I will write on him the name of my God, and the name of the city of my God, the new Jerusalem, which comes down out of heaven from my God, and my new name." I saw it right there. 4 times. Jesus says, "My God," 4 times in this passage, and this is coming from the mouth of Jesus, not just after his resurrection, but after his exaltation. After Jesus' exaltation, he still has someone above him who is called God. Jesus still has a God, even in his most exalted state at the right hand of the Father. So folks, this is so important. We can see here very clearly in just 3 passages, and we didn't even look at all the passages where Jesus claims to say, "My God." But this is a passage prior to his resurrection, a passage after his resurrection, and a passage after his exaltation where Jesus is saying the same thing. There is one God who is the Father, and that God and Father is the God of Jesus. Jesus claims to have a God. And you know what? If Jesus claims to have a God, then calling Jesus God is something that needs to be defined a little more thoroughly, okay? Because if the Father is the only true God, then Jesus can only be called God as an agent figure representing the one true God, the Father, the God of Jesus, okay? So folks, hopefully this has encouraged you in your understanding of the true God and your understanding of who Jesus is and the relationship between the true God, the God of Jesus, and Jesus himself. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share for more videos. My name is Dustin Smith. I'm with A2K, Allegiance to the King. And until next time, take care.